Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining another ARD Community Webcast. Today we're having a webcast on creating test cases with ARD. Our presenter today is Walter Guerrero. If you have any questions as we're going through today's session, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and we'll get to them when there's a pause in the presentation. All right, I'm going to hand the call over to Walter now. Take it away, Walter.
All right, thanks, Melanie. Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create test cases with ARD, which is also known as CA Agile Requirement Designer. The objective here is to show you how to create a very simple test case and explore the shipped test cases that are included with the tool. So let's get going, shall we? So what we're going to cover in today's webcast, what is ARD, Agile Requirement Designer, the architecture of it, and how to set up a basic test case overall, so you get an idea what's going on. So why ARD? Well, what's going on with ARD is that there has to be a method for you to improve the functional test coverage. How is all this happening? How you go about doing this, accomplishing this, and this is where ARD comes into play, because it allows you to graphically visualize what the flow is going to be and what's going to happen to the test case when it gets executed overall. And the beauty of this is that when you use ARD to design the different test cases, and let it be functional or process or what have you, you improve quality, as we see here. It's a huge improvement in quality, a huge improvement in also in productivity, and also improves the reduction in how your time and resources are being used overall. So you have that going on there fairly well. And hold on. And what happens there in those areas, why is it that you sometimes have to worry about test case design and management? Because when you are designing your test cases, and sometimes you don't see the whole picture of what's really going on, and by using ARD, you'll be able to get a full visualization at what's going on, how are the requirements defined, and where are the faults occurring, and how is it that you go about taking care of this when you're doing over-testing or under-testing, and also to overall customer quality. And you also have a lot of skyrocketing costs and defects. But by using ARD, you can visualize some of these items and actually make sure that you catch the error before any of this happens overall. So right now there is also very lack of clarity over here, in regards to the vision during the development. Let's say you have a business user and they want their application to do certain things. How is it that you go about making this happen? That's where the business analyst, the BA, comes into play. And he starts talking to them, and he needs to translate this into a requirement document. Well, the developer looks at the requirement document, which sometimes may or may not be clear, and uses that to interpret what exactly is the requirements document and create the necessary code to make this implementation possible. Well, the testers do the same thing, but when the testers look at this, the testers don't quite understand. By following the document, they're going to be doing the testing based on the requirements document. But when we get down to what's going to happen and the customer sees it, sometimes it's not what the customer actually talked about. Whereas, with ARD, we can actually see what the flow is going to do based on the requirements, what the customer wants and what the user wants, and how is this going to be implementing overall, and what the programmer sees. So once everyone sees where the code and the requirements meet, and what the tester is going to test this code, it improves the quality overall, because everyone can actually get an idea of where all their views are merging overall, which in this case is this area right here. Once everyone sees that, then they can improve the requirements and get a complete vision when everyone gets aligned, and the quality of the application improves, and it reduces the number of defects, and the product is delivered at a faster rate, because now everyone is in essence in the same wavelength, and they understand what's going to happen here. So when you define, and manage software requirements using ARD, that gives you the key features, that you have a visual view of what's really happening. It will reduce your number of defects as what's happening over here, and it allows you to create what is called design boards, which is the workflows. So it reduces the amount of testing that you will be doing because it can generate the different test cases that are going to be used and how they actually get executed. And this actually, it allows you to introduce a new concept overall in how the requirements are passed on. When you have the business developer, when it creates the flow, this is all completely model, it's in an active flow chart. Then this is given the code. Based on that, the developer can see the defects that can be avoided prior to the code being created. And the test cases are constantly generated, and it reduces less number of defects based on the test cases and how the test cases are actually being executed. And we can actually integrate this with Test Data Manager, and you can actually call Test Data Manager to generate the necessary synthetic data or mass data, where there's no sensitive data contained within, and that provides you with 100% test coverage overall. So then you'll be able to see how this is being used. When you generate the case, you also generate the test data as it's being executed, and that again reduces number of errors. It reduces the data that is needed to generate the test cases, and it allows you to do more realistic testing overall, because you can use virtual assets for the server and the service visualization. You can isolate the faces, and it improves quality overall. Okay, and then eventually you can automate this to be more exhaustively testing application based on the test cases and how they were generated. So what ARD brings to the table is that it provides you with a basic workflow that you can use to see how everything is working and determining how everything will happen here. And you can determine different flows, different processes, and you can integrate it with different plugins as well. So like Agile you can connect to Agile Central as well, so you can actually get a better idea of what's happening. With model-based testing, you can actually reduce that because it's structured and it's accurate and it's measurable. But the big thing is that it's following Agile as well. With most testing as it is right now, it's just random, it's unstructured, it's repetitive. Sometimes it's not even measurable, and it's lagging behind where the application is going. By using ARD, you can actually be working in concert with what the developers are working on and follow through in how all this is happening. So here are some of the common challenges, that are happening in regards to what's going on in the software testing area. We have over 50% of defects can be tracked back to ambiguous requirements overall. This is all based on how people look at requirements, and they're trying to figure out where the test needs to be run in regards to how the requirements was captured and how it was translated by the development team and or the testing team based on what the BA, the business analyst, created with. Well, if we're trying to reduce that, if we cannot reduce that, this increases the costs to fix those given defects, as they're found later on in the process. And test coverage basically is very low, and you have to kind of test more and more. And a change to the requirements, especially if you're following SDLC, it takes a lot more time, and you really don't know what is the impact of that change, requirement change, down in the downstream and how everything happens. I can attest this because when I was in the development side, it was the same for us. We couldn't actually tell when we had the requirements. We tried to translate those requirements based on what the business analyst or the PM, the product management team, was telling us. And we tried to determine exactly how all these requirements are going to be implemented. And sometimes, frankly, you misinterpret what the requirements are, and then you have to create a change request, or the number of test cases are higher. And definitely the coverage was, in our case, it was in the 30 and 40%. And we actually have to work very hard to come up with additional test cases. And if I would have had ARD at that point in time, it would have solved a lot of my problems and allowed me to come up with better quality overall in the product, because I'll be able to see what the problems are very quickly, and make sure that the test case was written perfectly to deal with those negative and positive scenarios. Here are some of them, the ambiguities that by using a model-based testing can help you with. Overall, here we can see, we have a nice little flow chart, and we can follow this and to see exactly how everything works. Where you can set it up where you have valid data and no valid data. You can very quickly visualize if everything worked correctly and everything is doing what it's expected to do, and just follow the whole process from here and see how all this will visualize and actually take care of it and see where my problems will be. So here basically when you want to build a better requirements, we're going to have to start up with an active flow. And here in this case, you can map the requirements to an ambiguous active flow chart. In this example right here, we can say we have water. Yeah, true. Okay, we have tea. Yeah. You want milk to actually get this stuff going? Then at that point in time, you can just say, no, I don't want milk, or yes, I want milk. So it's very simple to follow, and we can use this to build the whole process and how it reflects what the requirements are that the customer has. And once we map those requirements to the ambiguous location, we can actually start entering additional test data that, based on what's going to be good in there, and make a decision overall, saying, okay, this is the data that we're going to be checking against, and this will actually turn around and generate the necessary cases. And here are the additional plugins that you can use, to build better requirements. This is presently available, and you can actually bring those in and build them as an as-needed basis. So the objective is to create, the perfect test case. Obviously, for you to generate this, you're going to have a model. And once you come up with the correct model that you're going to be using, then you can turn around and generate the necessary test cases. Here's an example, when you want to generate the smallest number of test cases with a maximum coverage, you get to select the type of optimization that it has to happen for you to generate this given test cases. And that's basically what this is telling you right here. So that's the type of information that you are going to be needing to create the test cases. And you'll see this once we go through it, how you go about creating this. You're also going to need to measure the test coverage, what is this test coverage and how they go about creating this given set of test coverages here. And the objective here is to if we have 11 test cases with 60% coverage initially, when you took 6 hours to create that, with CA test case optimization, also known as TCO, took us a couple of hours to develop the model, and will create us 17 cases overall with 100% coverage. That's what the power of the tool is and what it does. You can also use the tool to do auto updates of the different changes and how those changes are occurring, and you can actually follow that. So you can make changes here. We say you can drink the tea, you can end. This is a very simple model. I'm going to show you another model that I created. I'm creating a widget, and I have a multiple conditional statements and what will have to happen based on the widget. And I created that fairly quickly. Here is the impact analysis, so you can see exactly how is it that model is going to affect you. And you can repair test cases if you need to improve the test case and get it going overall. Or you can add a new piece of functional data and how test case is added and actually improve that. You can also improve existing test cases because you can import them as they reside in HP ALM. You can also bring in the VTT or the SOT test cases and Jira tickets also, or Agile. And you can bring also known, here it says Rally, but it's also Agile Central. You can bring them in and you can actually see how these are behaving. And you don't have to start writing it because you take into account how the test case has been written, and you start modifying the test case, and you can see how the whole thing will process overall. And you can see, you can optimize it and make it run whatever you need to have. And this is an example of an HP ALM, prior to removing the duplication process that has been occurring over here. which you can see is very intimidating, but this is where ARD will come in and actually clean it up for you. You can, you export the diagram into a spreadsheet if you so choose, into HP Quality Agile and Agile Central on an as-needed basis. By doing this type of optimization, you can see that we ended up with 12 additional cases that provide us with 100% coverage, and it took about 3 minutes to get this done. But again, mileage may vary depending on what you're doing within your organization to improve some of this performance. And you can do a reactive test case automation overall here. But again, we start with the model, and the model, how is it flowing through in an active flow chart. We can include the automation engineer to create a configuration file with additional code snippets. The beauty of the code snippets is that within the code that you actually write here, it could be anything. It could be a JavaScript, PHP script, it could be simple Java code, or it could be just a command line, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. That's the beauty of the snippet overall there, that it allows you to see other things and work with them. And then you can generate this test, and it can be created, and it can be driven by Selenium. So Selenium basically can run that on a as-needed basis. Okay, and that's a lot of power, and that will be for another class, another session that we can do. We can actually start showing you how to do some of this work and perform some of these actions overall, and definitely we'll do another session on that. And here you can see there is no more manual or linear scripting, because by you looking at the model and you adding that given scope snippet and you generate Selenium, this information then, the Selenium scripting can be driven through Selenium, the script that was created, and it reduces the number of errors that you can commit overall. Again, in this area, we're talking about the model, how sophisticated it is, and it allows you to see the different requirements and the test cases. And like I said, you can include the data here on what exactly the data needs to be. It is an example, of using ARD with Test Data Manager, Agile Central, and HPLM. So basically what will happen here is that we have ARD, we have a user story, we generate the test cases overall here. We generate a test script, it's placed in the automation library where it's going to be generated, and then HPLM can run it or another framework can run it, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And go to Test Data Manager, create the virtual data that you need, and you virtualize the data, and you provide this data to CA ARD to actually execute the different virtual services on an as-needed basis. Then you could generate the test cases as needed. In this at this point here, release automation or ARD atomic release automation will execute the test cases where we see that it's needed. Defects are generated, the defects are tracked, and all this is happening behind the scenes. All of this is fully automated, so you don't have to have a lot of manual interaction, shall we say. And that's the kind of stuff that you'll be doing. So now I'm going to switch over to my ARD item so we can see what ARD looks like. So here's ARD. I have a couple of areas. So at the welcome screen here in ARD, this is what the Agile Designer looks like when I open it up initially. Obviously, I'm using the latest version, which is 2.5.5. So here I have multiple examples. I strongly recommend and urge you to open up an example so you can see how the examples work and you can use that. But in this scenario, I also created a very simple example overall here. And here in this particular example, let me reduce the view so I can actually see it. I just went ahead and created an example, and I'm building a widget here. We'll go through this exercise all over again one more time. Where I'm actually my starting point, I build my widget, as to checking if the widget works, and if it was ready to ship. If it's true, it's ready to ship. And I check the package, is the package ready? And if it's true, then shipped and end. And if it's not, then we'll rework the shipment And if the rework is complete, and if it's true, then we'll put it through the process again. If it's not, we stop the shipment. Nothing happens. That's the end of the line. Well, if the widget is not working, we put it into the rejected pile, and we check to see if it's false. You know, here I made a mistake when I did this. This right here should be false, not true. So we're going to make this minor change here. I just caught myself with a little mistake. So the same down here. So here, we're going to say rework, rejected. In this case, it's the pile rejected. In this case, it's false. So I had it backwards. So if it's rejected, then if it's true, then we're going to put in the recycle and we're going to end the whole process. So that right there, you can show you the power. I can actually was able to determine that my flow is a little bit incorrect. So when we look at this flow, we can actually go to the design section, to the manage section, and we're going to check the path explorer on this particular one. We're going to bring it over here. Sorry, it went to my other screen. And we're going to go for maximal coverage for all areas. So as you can see, we have 3 paths that we can follow with 6 nodes. So it's showing me the different locations and how these paths are moving around. And I can actually then come and I can select all the paths that I'm going to use. In this case, I'm going to use all of them. And I can turn around and I can go to the test case optimizer. And basically here it's going to tell me the cost of the 3 paths and how these paths are basically going to be affected. And then it tells me, you know, the test kind of coverage that I need for the nodes. I need 13. The nodes to coverage 13, it will give me out of 14. In and out coverage 68%. Over testing coverage is 15 out of 16, so it's 93%. So I actually see what's happening in regards to taking it to the edge and get more information overall. This is the beauty of this, because I can actually see this information fairly quickly, and I can see how this is being affecting me in regards to what's happening when the Explorer is executed. So that's this one that I worked out fairly quickly and, you know, fixed the problem that I encountered. Another one that you can see also that is also available to you and is always available here is called the change the light bulb. The change the light bulb is one of the cases that is included here overall, and you can actually use it to see, you know, how is it being used and what's happening here. And here I can see that the change the light bulb, I went through the validation stage, and I can see how the validation flow has occurred. You know, we can clear the selection and re-execute the validation stage. And you can see how the flow is actually snapping through, and we can increase the focus on it. We're going to try to reduce this a little bit so you guys can see it and how the whole focus is and what is happening here. And I can actually do the same thing. I can go to the Path Explorer, and I can actually look at the whole validation, and this is what's telling me all the different paths that it can take. There are no test cases here because I haven't defined any overall. And then we have the flow contains 4 constraints, which, you know, is telling me what the errors are overall. And I can actually generate the test coverage here in this area. And I can see, you know, we need to compute all the pairs. And it's giving me a 40% coverage overall. And I will actually have to come back and fix that and make this work better. So I will strongly suggest that you work with this so you can see what's happening. But let's go design another case, shall we? So we can actually get an idea how easy, so you can see how easy it is to design a new case overall, so you can get working on it fairly quickly. So we're going to open one, and we're going to call it build support. And here, you know, I can take different options or not, or I can keep stepping through it and then actually connect it to CA TDM if I so choose to connect it. But in this case, what we're going to do, we're just going to hit finish. So it just gives us right away the start and end. And here we're just going to introduce a new process here. And the process here that we are introducing is open support ticket. Okay, so we open the support ticket overall. That's the first thing that we did here. and we look at any other shapes that we may need. And here we already have the visual flow control, in passing the common symbols overall here. So we just open up a support ticket, and here we introduce a multivariable. We're going to put it right here, and we're going to say does customer have support contract? A single observable is a user interaction. It's actually infrastructure. So we say finish. So we have it right there. After we check that, and we're going to set up another process here. We drag it over here. It's ask customer to set up contract. So we just finished that. So it's actually going to set up the contract. So we connect this like that. It's select output 1. And then we bring it back to open up a ticket. And then we bring it down here. And then we set up a new process. Start support ticket. Start ticket. So we finish. And then we decide, if we gonna test this, and he would say is support complete. Okay, so we close this. So we're gonna move this a little bit higher. So here's where I'm going. I'm gonna bring it down here, and then we're gonna move this here, and then we're gonna end it here. And this is true, it's complete. If it's not complete, we need to continue processing the ticket. Here we're gonna say continue processing ticket. So we finish this. We move it over a little bit. Move it this way. We connect this. Move this a little bit this way, so we know where everything is going. And then here, when we continue processing the ticket, we do fairly quickly. We basically end the process of the ticket. Once we have done that, we see in the overall entry here the ticket. We can either design it some more. We can improve the design on this. We can duplicate it or lay out other flows into it. But the objective of this is to keep it simple. So here we are going to go to the Path Explorer. We're going for maximum coverage. We start with the node and the start nodes. All possible paths, full coverage. I guess I made a mistake when I developed this, where I'm not getting all my possible coverages. Okay, so as you can see, those are the kinds of, it will help if I start the process.
The system has detected that a minimum number of lines are connected to this conference. Do you want to continue your meeting? Press 1 to confirm. If there is no response, the conference will end.
Melody. All right, so I'm back. I'm sorry, they dropped me. So can you hear me now?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. All right, so as you can see, that created necessary coverage, and that was basically one of my mistakes there was that I did not establish the connection overall, and this is a very common error that you will be doing when you get too excited at trying to develop this. So if we go to the light bulb and we check the exploration path here in the light bulb, and we execute the maximum coverage, you can see that it will actually also develop 3 different paths, and this will show us, what the areas that we need to do to improve the performance of this and maybe add some other test cases. So if we look at this, the different pairs, so showing us that the pair coverage is going to be about 43%. So you can see that it's giving us quite a bit of information based on the visualization and how we have it defined. And that's basically this whole presentation, is just to show you how to create a basic set of paths and use them and set that stuff up from that point. So as we conclude this presentation here, I'm sorry, I need to hold on. As we conclude this presentation, why is this important? Because we are showing you how to create a very simple test case to get you going using ARD, and as you get more proficient, you can start making additional changes and adding more. And eventually we'll come up with another presentation here, but we'll take you through all the steps necessary. Okay, good, Vitaly. We'll take you all through all the steps necessary to, to set this up correctly and allow you to improve the performance of your test cases and actually see how the requirements are being implemented. So you can see that overall right there. So you can see the structure of a test case and how to go about creating a very simple test case. So that's in essence the summary of this session. Any questions, comments?
Okay, if you guys have any questions, just a reminder, you can do that in the Q&A box in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, or at this point, if you're joined via audio broadcast, through the telephone line, we will open it up for questions as well. You can click #6 on your telephone keypad to unmute yourself. I know we're having some issues with the sound, so if you guys can hear me, we're recording this, so we will be posting the recording later if you're not able to hear after the drop.
Okay. So if you have questions after this webcast, do post them in the community, and I'll go take a look over there and respond to you as soon as possible. Also, that we have another upcoming webcast, and this one is about harnessing the power of model-based testing. And sorry, the community is wrong. The community is supposed to be dev test TDM ARD. That's what that's upcoming here. And this will be happening August 15th at 11 a.m. If there are no questions at all, I thank you, and I look forward to. We'll be posting the presentation on the website as well.
Yeah, we'll be posting the presentation along with the recording. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be doing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Walter.
No, thank you.
Okay, and thank you everyone for joining. As Walter said, we'll be posting this to the community. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter those into the community, the ARD community, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. Thank you so much everyone for joining, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Okay, bye.